Thanksgiving?
Boring.
Boring. Who ate turkey? Raise your hand. Who ate ham? Raise your hand. Who ate none of the above? Something different. What was it?
And chicken.
Chicken.
Yep.
Chicken as well?
Yeah.
All right. Any other alternatives? Did anybody eat other than turkey, ham, chicken?
Tamales.
Tamales. All right.
No, but tamales and chicken.
Yams, mashed potatoes,
What about our pork one?
Well, I'm talking.
gumbo.
Okay, she had a piece.
We have a whole bunch of pies.
I didn't get the invite. What happened? Oh, did anybody see my discussion topics for Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
The questions that you sent.
I
Yes.
laughed and then I didn't ask.
I looked at it and then my brain was on autopilot.
Who actually asked those questions? Well, that's like the busiest time of the
But
year.
before we open.
You see?
Like consecutively?
Yeah, I like agreed to stay from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Okay, so, well, welcome back. Last week, week 15. How y'all feeling? Okay. I like the interesting facial expressions I've been getting. Good vibes. Sadness? Why?
Because I won't see you ever again.
Well,
I'm gonna stop talking before I start crying.
There'll be opportunities. I'll talk about opportunities about reconnecting. So, if you're interested, of course. So, this is the last week. It's going to be really compressed. So, we have the exam Thursday. Okay? So, but the goal is to get you all prepared to do really well for the exam. So, we're going to go.
Thursday?
Sorry?
It's on Thursday?
So, 2 days from now. Same place, same time.
Is it still open book and everything?
Yes. All right. Oh, if it's okay with you, I'm trying to record this class session. Is that okay? Microphone only. Okay. No camera. Just microphone. Is that okay?
Yeah. No.
No. Okay, then I'll have to stop. So, and then I'll post it on YouTube, and then you can refresh your memories if necessary by watching the video. Is that fine?
Oh, that's
Hearing the video.
Sorry.
Hearing the video.
Here's the video. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're not watching it. It's not video.
No, well, it's video. It's just screen.
Oh.
But I'm also capturing the audio,
Oh.
but I'm not recording what's happening here.
You should.
No, then the people will start dancing and they don't want it. Oh, I'll start dancing. That's not funny. All right, anyway, so let me proceed. All right, so today we're going to go over the assignment number 6, part 2. If you didn't get a chance to do it, we're going to go over it. And then you can turn it in at the end of, by the end of the class session on Thursday, after the exam. Part 2. So assignment number 6 is part 1 and part 2. I already turned back part 1, and I gave you a grade. And then we're going to go over part 2, and then you can keep it, don't turn it in yet, and then turn it in. If you haven't turned it in yet to me, you have an opportunity to turn it in on Thursday, at the end of class.
So, because I was in here Thursday before the break, so just want me to turn it on Thursday. For part 1 and part 2?
Any other questions on that? We're going to go over article number 6. We're going to do the computer exercise 6.2, review the practice exam. You have to complete some surveys if you want some extra credit. Feedback, final thoughts, reconnecting, Thursday exam. Anything else? Any questions before we move forward? Yes.
Say like you didn't submit one of the computer assignments. Can we submit it still so that like some?
I can give you, yes, if you haven't submitted something, but you have to do it on your own time, find a computer lab, because a lot of them are PSS programs or exercises. So try to find out if the labs are available. You can actually, there's ways to do it in your computer, but you have to install Parallel, you have to run on her.
Okay, I think ITS, they can download it.
Yeah, so in ITS, what happens, you can download a program called Parallel, and then you can virtually access SPSS. If you can get that done, that'd be awesome. But from my personal experience, there's always like an issue with it. So just be prepared to have a backup. But yes, you can turn in your assignments. I'll give you a deadline for that. Because I have to turn in grades, so I'll probably give you like a few days after Thursday or something. Or a week, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Are you gonna reopen them?
I can reopen them upon request. You want me to reopen them?
Yeah, yes.
All right, so you gotta, there's a lot of makeup things to do,
If
right?
you can, if not,
I can do it, I'm fine, I'm all right. The key thing is learning, all right? So I'll try and reopen all of them. If you haven't done them, this is an opportunity, I'll give you the deadline as well. I'll determine the deadline, but it's gonna be, I'll be reasonable with the deadline. Anything else before we proceed?
nope. You're awesome.
I'm trying. Make sure you put that in the evaluation. Okay, so moving forward. Okay, part 2. All right, SAT composite scores are normally distributed with a average score of 21, sample of 25, students randomly selected from a local high school with the sample average of 23. The sample standard deviation is 5.2. Now, do the data support the claim that the average SAT composite score of students from this high school is different than 21 on the ACT composite score using an alpha 0.05? All right, so I'm just gonna show you the steps, understanding that we have a bit of time constraints. Is that fair? But you have to understand the reasoning because a type of question like this will be an exam. Okay, so you have your 9 steps. Let's start for the first one. Can anybody say what's the first one?
State all you want is to say
What's the null hypothesis? Something equals something.
21 equals 25.
Very good. Well, no. 23.
Oh yeah,
I
sorry.
thought you had it right, but sorry. I was going with the flow. But 21, 23, 25, where'd you get 25? Oh, that's the sample size, that's why. So make sure you understand which values are which. So we're talking about the population mean of 21 and the sample mean of 23. And the alternative hypothesis is just the opposite of that, which is 21 does not equal to 23. Okay, so anytime you see in the question different, or you don't see something's higher or something lower, it's going to be a two-tailed hypothesis test. So key indicators is like in your null hypothesis when it's equal, alternative is non-equal. Anytime you see those symbols, it's a two-tailed test or it's particularly different. Now, the significance level is given to you. So that comes directly from the question. And then the question is, which test do you use? The t-test or the z-test? And I'll give you a hint there. Is the population standard deviation given? Yes or no? All right, I want to hear a collective response here. So, is the population standard deviation given?
Yes.
Is the sample's standard deviation given?
Yes.
Therefore, which test should we use?
T-test.
Very good. Going forward. So I provided you with a link because the table is so cumbersome nowadays. There's a link, there's actually resources on the internet that you can use use to identify your critical value. So all you need to do is put the sample size, and it will just give it to you. That's there's other links, but that's one that I found. And then I did that. I go to the link, I put the sample size, I put my alpha, and it gives me my critical values of plus and minus 2.0639. So those are my critical values. And then I need to calculate my t-statistic now. So with that, I have the formula in front of me. I just need to plug in the numbers. And that's in pencil. So sample mean minus population mean over the standard deviation of the sample divided by the square root of the sample size. You do all that calculation, you end up with 1.92. All right, now you're ready to make a decision. So you know that the normal, this is your normal distribution, this is the area of acceptance, area of rejection. You know, from your T critical values, you know your T critical values, the lower one is negative 2.06, the top one is 2.06. So those are your critical values. So anything in between will be accepted. Anything below negative 2.06 or anything above 2.06 is going to be rejected. So 1.92 is, where does it lie? In between or outside, below or above 2.06? In between. Therefore, do we reject or accept the null hypothesis? Because it landed in the region of, very good. So you accept the null hypothesis, you state your conclusion. There is no statistical difference between the average ACT score and the local high school. Okay, so this is key. This is how you report it. This is APA style. You put in italics T, parentheses, put the degrees of freedom. Degrees of freedom is whatever your sample size is minus 1, which is 24. And then you put your T statistic there, which is 1.92, which comes from here. And then this is key too. The probability of getting that T statistic was above 0.05 because it landed in the region of acceptance. So you put the bracket, the greater than bracket, toward the P, which is probability. So probability of you getting that sample size was above 0.05. This is very important. That's how you report it. I will upload the PowerPoint slides for your convenience at the end of this day. Questions on this one? Moving forward. Nationwide, the average total amount of student loan debt in 2012 is normally distributed with an average of 29,400. Assume that a sample of 36 students randomly selected from a public university. Their student loans have a sample average of 27,400. The sample standard deviation is 9,000. Conduct the proper statistical procedure to test whether the average student loan in this public university is different from 29,400. Using alpha of 0.1. All right, so we changed it up a little bit. All right, 9 steps. So what's going to be my null hypothesis? Something equals something.
$29,400 is equal to $27,400.
Very good. Alternative is what?
Not
Not equal.
equal.
Very good. There we go. And then, let me go back. So you see the word different here, right? See it there, right? Different? Anytime you see the word different, you don't see higher or lower. It's going to be a what? Tailed test. Very good. Then, what's my significance level, which is given? Can't hear you.
0.10.
Very good. test should I use?
T-test.
Very good. I have to get my critical values. I'll do it for you, but when you go to that link, you can just type in the degrees of the sample size that it'll give you. So the T critical values is plus and minus 1.61. Okay, so you do the formula, you do the calculations, you plug in the values, so you put in the sample average minus population average divided by standard deviation of the sample, which is over the square root of the sample size. You know that interesting magic of computations. I end up with negative 1.33. All right, just at a glance, what do you think? Is it going to be the null hypothesis accepted or rejected? Just at a glance. Okay, so here is an illustration of going through that process. So you put the critical values here, bottom one here, the top one there, and then negative 1.33 lies right between them in the region of acceptance. Therefore, we accept the null hypothesis, and there is my statement. Questions on that? Yes.
For your statement, when you put T35, is it because you did N minus 1?
Yes, that's right. So you put the degrees of freedom, which is the sample size minus 1. 36 minus 1, 34. Any other questions?
Why isn't P greater than 0.05?
Because it landed in the region of acceptance, because the probability of me getting this p-value was higher than 0.05, because if you put, this area is 2. Okay, this is 2.5 probability.
Where'd you get 0.05 from?
Okay. Oh, I messed up. You're right, you're right. Good catch. Good catch.
Extra pair point.
Good catch, you're right. So it should be, yeah, 0.1. So I'll take note of that. No, that's a good catch. I appreciate it. That was by design. I did it on purpose.
Okay.
Also, for the critical region, I didn't get 1.69. I got 2.042.
For the critical region, you got 2 point something? I could double check that. This came from, so did you look it up on the table or something?
Yeah, that's okay.
And that's what it came, that's what you assigned. You can double check. While you're double checking, let me proceed. All right, moving forward. Next one is SAT verbal scores are normally distributed with the population average of 500. A local high school has instituted a new program to engage students in reading. A sample of 9 students from the high school is randomly selected following their participation in this reading program, and their SAT verbal scores were reported. So, and this sample means significantly different from the population mean. So what makes this problem very different from all of them is that it doesn't give you the sample mean, and it doesn't give you the standard deviation. So you have to do that on your own. Fortunately, I was able to do that. But anyway, that's what makes this a little bit more complicated, because it's not given to you. You have to compute it yourself. So just follow the 9 steps again. Assuming that you do this like in Excel, or you hand computed it, ultimately it's going to be the population mean equal to, you find out the mean of these values, and it's going to be 565. And then the alternative, because it's asking if they were different.
What if it is the same?
What do you mean the same? Here?
Yeah.
That's the whole process. So, like the previous ones, we basically said that they were the same because they landed in the region of acceptance. So what we're actually saying when they're the same and we accept the null hypothesis is that this difference, even though it's not statistically different, but it is different, is due to sampling variation. So it's like when you flip the coin, so you got 4s, and you're supposed to get 5s. Like if you flip the coin 10 times, you're supposed to get 5 all the time. But sometimes you got 4, sometimes you got 6. That's sampling variation. So in this case, we can say that this difference in values is attributed to sampling variation, not that there's any statistical difference between. Okay, so it's different. It's two-tailed tests. What's the significance level? It doesn't tell you. I don't think it tells you.
No.
All right, so if it doesn't tell you, the standard is 0.05.
If it doesn't tell me,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's not even given, so I messed up there. Sorry about that. Which test should I use? Because
You're not giving the standard deviation of the population.
very good. My T critical, I find that out using the link. It's ultimately plus and minus 2.3. So then I get my T obtained. I do the calculations. 565 minus 500 over 95.49 over the square root of 9. Should be 9. No, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually 8. So 2, 4, 6, 8. Is it 9?
Yeah,
Sorry
it's
about
9.
that. Oh yeah, 9. Okay. Square root of 9. And then do the calculations. And you get the T obtained of 2.042. Okay, so those are my T criticals. And my T obtained lands right there. Accept or reject the null hypothesis.
Except.
Okay, good. I accept it. But my conclusion, there's no statistical difference between the means. Make sure you report the APA style, T of italics, degrees of freedom, which is n minus 1, k equals, and then
Where'd you get
T
8 from?
obtained. Do you have a question?
Where'd you get 8 from?
So it's the sample size minus 1. So sample size was 9 minus 1, 8. Questions? All right. Go ahead. Oh, you have to do it on your own. So you use Excel, or you hand score it, whatever you do. So what you do is you follow the standard deviation formula of all these values. I would recommend Excel. Okay, it's easier, faster. But if you want to do a hand score, it's fine too. But yeah, you have to get the average of these and the standard deviation of these. Questions on this? All right, moving into Article 6. Oh, here? Here?
Yeah, rolling down.
What time do you plan on
I can't even.
I don't know, my friend has a, my
So it's basically that, subtraction by that. Should be 65.
Start at 2.
12.
Those articles, I think Article 6.
Wow.
Wow.
Bet.
But it's down there.
Bet $1. I don't have cash for that.
Is that wrong?
It's like Kate's school. So it starts at 12.
No, start at
Well, I'm talking about like.
No.
Hey, Article 6, taking it out. We're going to go over that.
Start
Start.
How many?
12.
Did you complete it?
Maybe. Why don't you give me my answer so I see if they match?
You first.
No, you first, I asked. I asked first.
So, somebody respond to question number 1.
Oh, so cute.
Let's see if you got it right. Yes. Good job.
What was it?
It's right there. I'm gonna let you compare,
Thank you.
but remember to understand the reasoning behind it. What's the, what's the answer for question 2?
14.5%.
How about, okay, what's the next one? Next one, the
What
same?
percentage of what percentage of high school students indoors? Give me a second.
1,
Hold on, give me 10.
2,
15 point. 28.7. 28.7.
8.7. All right. Next one, what do you think? I get a feeling some of you did not do this. That's just my spidey senses telling me.
Males have more than females.
Sorry?
Males have more than females.
Oh. Yes, males appear to endorse the semen. Okay, good. 5. Oops, I made a mistake. Okay, go ahead. 5.
14.0 through 6.7.
Is that it? Good. Moving on.
Oh.
We're blasting through. 63.4 through 74.2.
I thought you did it.
I want to see your answers again.
Oh.
Oh, not those. Messed up. There we go. Is that consistent with your answer? I mean, your sheet? Is that consistent?
Yeah.
Reminder, understand the reasoning behind it. Don't just copy the answers.
I will, I promise.
Okay. Take your word for it.
I've done good on my quizzes.
What are the limits of the 95% confidence? What's question? What's the answer for question number 6?
63.4 through 74.2.
Is that consistent? Question 7?
They don't overlap. They don't.
How about question 7? What's your answer? Very good. No overlapping. Question number 8. I'm going to take a picture, make sure I'm in front of the screen.
I have a photo here like this.
Question 8. Who wants to answer question 8? Go ahead. Yes, they overlap. Yes, they do overlap. Very good. Question 9.
What?
Question 9. They do overlap. Let's see. Yes, they do. Very good. Question 10.
So it's no? It's not reliable? Is number 10 it's not reliable?
It's not reliable?
I thought it is.
There's no reliable difference, yes. Okay. Okay, so discussion questions. Compare your answers to question 5 and 6. Does the difference between the two answers surprise you? Why or why not? I don't have answers for these. Yes.
Oh, I put no because
data, right? Okay? All right, well, for those of you who are still, have pending responses, this is an opportunity to answer them. It doesn't have to be today, it could be before Thursday, at the end of class. 12, based on the examination of confidence intervals, all the difference between males and females are reliable. Why might this be the case?
Because females are always reliable.
Alrighty. Based on the data, not based on anecdotal experiences. Based on the data. You have the sheet? Okay. You have a response? Okay. That's good. I would take that. I think the focus is on the confidence intervals. So I think it's probably referring to confidence intervals and if they overlap or not. So they don't? All right, let's see. Well, I don't have an answer. So I think that's all. Okay. And this is kind of like an open discussion question. I don't think there's a right answer for this one. The second highest endorsement rate for the total sample was in the response to the statement that cigars are something different to try, which is 20.2%. Did this surprise you? Why not?
I put that it doesn't because a large number of participants are like non-cigarette users and like probably never experienced cigars and are probably curious of the different tastes.
Okay.
Mostly out of curiosity, they're probably finding that they don't try the previous.
Yeah, like in the movies, especially, especially in the 80s, there was a lot of movies that have these strong, interesting characters smoking. And then I remember watching them all like, wow, smoking's cool.
Smoking is rough.
But I don't smoke, for the record, especially since I'm recording. But once I turn off the record, I'll let you. It's a joke. So, all right, anyway, that's open discussion questions. There's no right answer. It's just a matter of just you analyzing and providing a response from your personal experiences. And based on the data. Okay, ready for, okay, so this is your exercise. Okay? This is relevant, this is gonna be on the exam, or this type of exam, this type of question will be on the exam. So this is actually part of your SPSS exercise that you will need to turn in. So if you can, open up Word, because you're gonna type something up that you're gonna turn in preferably by the end of the day. So this is based on the survey that we all took. Is there a statistical difference between our class average and the national average of 135 minutes per day spent on social media and explain? What do you think? Was there a difference between our social media usage in this class, or your personal usage, the average, and the national average? What do you think? Is there a statistical difference? All right, let's see. We did the analysis. And let me show you how to read these analyses because this will be the exam. So when you get a SPSS result like this, you're given the sample size, which is 21, the average 151 minutes per day, the standard deviation, and standard error. So in order to, actually SPSS does all the calculations you need to make a determination of accepting or rejecting the null hypothesis. It does it for you. So it generates T. This is something that we generated last time of class, but I copy and pasted it.
So we just, is there like a,
Just open Word and then
PDF
go to the Google document.
respond to it or not?
You can just respond based on what I'm showing you. How about this? I'll upload it and you can turn it in by Thursday. Okay?
Yay.
I'll upload the PowerPoints and this is what you need to do. I'll be clear on that. So let me show you how they interpret these analysis. So this is your t-value. Instead of you computing the t, it gives it for you. It actually does the calculation. It also determines your degrees of freedom, which is the sample size minus 1, which is 20. All right, and so this is probably the most important part of this analysis. It's called the significance detail. It's right here. Essentially, this gives you the probability of you getting that sample mean. Now, if it's above your alpha, which is 0.05, if that value is above 0.05, you're going to accept the null hypothesis. I repeat, if that value, which the significant value, if it's above your alpha, which is in this case, we're going to say 0.05, you're going to accept the null hypothesis. If it's less than 0.05, you will then what?
Accept the no hypothesis.
You go, bro.
Rejected. It's all right. Okay, cool. All
I
right.
didn't copy it, right?
It's all right. It's all right. So I'm going to repeat this. If it's above 0.05, what do you do?
Accept.
If it's below 0.05,
Reject.
okay. And we're talking about what?
Reject.
This value, right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's basically, the closer the mean it is in the middle, the higher this value. So therefore it lands in the region of acceptance. The further away it is, the lower this value is. Therefore you reject it. So that's where it's coming from. So in this case, the t-value was 0.71. It landed in the region of acceptance. So bottom line, if you want a shortcut on how to figure this out, just look at this value. If it's less than 0.05, what do you do? If it's above 0.05, how about this table? If it's less than 0.05, what do you do? If it's less. Okay. If it's above 105. All right, so I need you to report this for your assignment. So I'll give you a template there. All you need to do is follow the template. I highlighted it for you. All you need to do is type it up. Social media, so I give you templates for significant results and non-significant results. Here's a direct template to this exercise. All you need to do is type this out.
Just
Now,
what's highlighted?
I'm sorry?
Just what's highlighted?
Yes, you can do it differently if you want. But all you need to do is type this statement up, but you have to make it accurate. So social media is it statistically significant or was not statistically significant? Based on the analysis. Okay. It's okay. Do we reject or accept the null hypothesis? You said reject, right? No, that's wrong. It's above 105.
Oh, you're right.
It's above 105. If it's above 105, we'll accept it. All right? If it's about point if I accept it.
Well, it's just-
If you accept it, therefore, can you make the conclusion that there was a difference, a statistical difference?
No.
Therefore, there is not, right? Okay, so social media usage was, should I include that or no? Should I include that?
Yes.
Okay. You include that. And then between the use average and 135 minutes and this class. And then for your mean, you go back to the analysis. You get the mean here. Plug it in there. You get the standard deviation of the sample. That, put it in there. What should I put there?
Oh, isn't it out
Not everybody took the survey. It tells you right there. I mean, it's N 21 minus 1 for subjects. What do I put there?
0.76.
Yes, that's right. Okay, this is the most important part. Well, one of the most important parts. What bracket should I put? Like the open mouth part here, facing the P, or the less than part facing the P?
The P is greater than 0.05.
So the open greater than? Because? That's good. But I want to hear more voices. Does everybody get it?
I can't tell you the
Okay, well, it's being recorded so you can view the video. Hopefully,
I took a picture.
that's fine. I'm going to upload the slides as well.
Can I write it?
Okay, we're going to proceed with exam practice 3. So, rental car question. Rental car company claims that the mean time to rent a car on their website is 60 seconds with a standard deviation of 30. A random sample of 36 customers attempted to rent a car on the website. The mean time to rent was 75 seconds. Is this enough evidence to contradict the company's claim using your alpha 0.05? So for this one, you use the 9 steps. Here we go. What should be the null hypothesis?
60 equals 70, 60 does not equal 75.
Okay, good. This is a one-tail, two-tail test.
Two tails.
Good. What's my significance level?
What?
Significance level.
0.05.
Good. T-test or Z-test?
D.
Why?
Because the standard deviation of the population is given to you. Oh no, I lied. I lied.
No, it is.
Oh, yeah.
You're right.
Okay, I didn't lie. It's because I saw mean in front of that. So then I was like,
So it's Z-test because I got the standard deviation of the population.
okay.
And then my alpha critical values will be plus or minus 1.96. And then I need to calculate my Z statistic. So I get sample average minus the population average equals 15. 30 is the standard deviation over square root of the sample size. And then I got 5.
You was 0.
15 over 5 equals 3. So my Z statistic is 3. Based on just at a glance, should I reject or accept the null hypothesis? Good. So 3 lands all the way over here. In the land of what?
Nowhere.
Well, be more specific.
Rejection.
Very good. Therefore, I reached the null hypothesis. I missed typo. Okay,
You reject it.
and then
Say there is, because,
there is a statistical difference between
and
those
that's how
two.
you write that? Okay, cool, let's do it.
Questions on this? Sorry? Questions? I didn't,
Oh, no, no, no.
please include me in your discussion. It's been going on, yeah, I know the reject. Sorry about that.
I do that all the time.
It's noisy.
Sometimes like every like really fast.
Yeah.
but I was like,
I'm human. All right, so moving forward. Okay, a study was conducted to determine the students' sleep routine differences between students with GPAs of 3.5 or higher versus students with GPAs 2.7 or lower. Based on the objective and results of the study listed below, what does this data suggest? What do you think? Anybody? Can anyone take a look at this data? Yes.
It's doing a lot.
It's from the practicing. I sent her as an attachment and I put it in. Just on the two, all right, well, let me show you how to interpret this. All right, so you look at this table, and it's a lot of stuff. All right. Keep an eye on the p-values, anything below 0.05. All right, look at the ones that are below 0.05 or even at 0.05. All right, so not that one, not that one, not that one. This one. All right, there's one. There's this one. There's this one. So you look at those significant values, because the other ones could have been just by sampling variation. And then you can look at and compare the sleeping habits of students who get lower than GPA 2.7 and students that have higher, 3.5 or higher. And so what this tells me, let's see, is that, well, they sleep earlier
At 12 a.m.
compared to 12:38.
oh, it's a trend talking about the parentheses.
I'm sorry?
I thought we were looking at what was in the parentheses.
Well, that's the same thing too. Because look, the higher GPA people sleep early. This is the average, but that's like the parameter. And also, based on this, wait time.
5 a.m.
Now, this is the average. So, and this is significant. The students with higher GPAs, what's the deal with them?
They wake up earlier.
Very good.
I wouldn't.
So students with that higher GPA, based on this data, it suggests that students with higher GPAs sleep earlier and wake up earlier, based on the significant values. So in order to look at this, look at the p-values and find the ones that are less than 0.05, because those are the significant ones, and then start making some determinations. You're like, okay, these are the less. Although it's 0.05, I'll say yeah, it's fine. And then start looking at these. What does it mean? What is it saying? Questions on this one? Don't worry, everything will be fine. All right. Okay, this is a pop culture one. All right, so based on your knowledge and confidence intervals, margin of error, and based on the polls listed below, can one make the claim that public opinion has statistically and significantly shifted? All right, so it's really small letters, but the margin of error is 3.5. so when you hear margin of error, think about confidence intervals. This is the bottom.
Oh,
Okay, so every value that you see there, there's some error behind it. Or it's not going to be exactly, it's based on a sample. So there's going to be some, what we call the margin of error, or also known as the confidence interval. So what you do is you add 3.5 and then subtract 3.5, and it gives you a range for each one of them. So you add 3.5, subtract 3.5, gives you a range. You do that for each one of them. So knowing that the margin of error is 3.5, let's just focus on this part. Do you think opinions have shifted from November 2019 to, from October 2019 to November 2019?
No, because they have less interaction.
That's the point. Very good. Let's go to this part. Has opinions shifted from 26% to 22, understanding that the margin of error is 3.5?
Same thing.
I'll say very marginally shifted because it's 3.5. The difference between these two,
Well, because if it's,
but yeah, you're right. I think I know where you're heading. so yeah, so they overlap because if you subtract 3.5 and then add 3.5, do they overlap? And so the question is, the answer is yes. Questions on that? Does it make sense? Semi? Oral? Exactly. So one practical way of saying this or doing this is add and subtract 3.5 or the whatever the margin of error is to each one of them and see if they overlap. If they do, then those differences could be because of sampling variation. If they don't, then one can actually reasonably claim that opinions have shifted. Questions on that? All right, so here's just a slide that illustrates this concept a little bit. Because when you sample something, the real population mean can be here. But based on the sample, you make a claim that it's here, but it's going to be within this range. The likelihood that the real population mean is going to be within this range. That's another slide to help you out. And then nothing but the last one, I may have this in the exam as well. Describe to me what does it mean when we have differences of mean that are statistically significantly different. Oh, you have to explain, what does it mean? You can tell me that you reject the null hypothesis, but what does that mean? That could be technical, yes. That's fair, but I want you to really ask yourself the question is, what does it mean? Is like in almost in everyday terms. You want me to give you a potential answer?
Wait. When there's something that's statistically significant, that means that they're statistically like apart, like different. And when they're not, that means they're too close to see a difference.
Very good, yes. just to elaborate a little bit on what you're saying.
I think it also, I mean, like, it guarantees a difference, like, without, like, errors.
Okay. So, going back to the analogy of being a detective, when you find statistically significantly different means or values, it means that you can exclude sampling variation for the cause of that difference. Because variation exists in everything, almost everything. It's like when you start flipping coins, that's variation. You're gonna get sometimes, if you flip a coin 10 times, you're gonna get 4s, you're gonna get 6. Variation exists everywhere. And if you drive home, you're not gonna be 55 miles per hour the whole time. There's gonna be times where it's gonna be 45, 65. Variation exists everywhere.
Not even have cruise on.
I'm sorry?
Not even have cruise on.
Well, sometimes it can be windy, and it may create so much wind resistance that may lower it a little bit. Anyway, that's beside the point, but the whole point is that variation exists. So when you identify something that is statistically significant, what you're actually saying that sampling variation did not cause these differences. That's essentially what it's saying. If you wanted to like learn, or at least take a key learning concept from this class, that's a key one right there. What does it mean that these values are statistically significant? Is because the sampling variation was likely not the cause of these differences. The key word is likely as well. Okay.
When it's statistically significant.
Yes.
That means that the significant variation.
Sampling variation
The
was
sampling variation
was likely.
was.
That's okay. It takes time to digest.
Didn't cause it.
Yes.
Okay.
Likely did not cause the differences of values. All right, that covers my. Okay, I said my piece. Okay, it's the opposite. So the likely cause of the differences was due to sampling variation, or not statistical significance. So when you see two values that are different, it's because of natural sampling variation. That's probably what caused it. But at least when you do find statistical significant differences, you can exclude that as a likely cause of the difference. All righty. Okay, open forum, meaning you can ask me any questions. I don't have any other material to go over. You can ask me any questions. Okay. Kind of make some concepts there. Okay, that's fine.
What day do you have?
Doesn't sound like a record.
Because I need to figure out what my somebody on the system.
Really? Yeah. What camera are you using?
Attention to quota.
Oh, I have a different one. Mine's Stevenson. So mine's at 7 and 4. But I only have 2 finals next week. Or 3 finals, but one's a video presentation, so that doesn't really count. But 2 finals on Thursday, and that's my last day. I can do that.
All you have to do is
At least you can say, the critics can say that it wasn't coincidence.
do a reflection.
Okay, so this is like an example. So somebody wants to
be at 7 in the morning and she got lazy.
Now,
She didn't want to do it, so she
a person
asked
who
us
wins
to
it
Grace make a video.
10 times
And
in a
then
row.
I still gotta go to my standard, my
Exactly.
to the
That's
to
what-
the design
that's what we're
classes in
talking
the morning just to collect
You
the
know,
content.
once again, like, the person that
I have
won
a
one time,
6-page essay due.
he claimed that person
Next
as a
Thursday,
special skill.
and I haven't started it.
This Thursday?
Next Thursday.
The person
Oh,
won 10
no,
times
not
in a
this
row.
Thursday. I would come
Say
this
that
already.
person has a special
No.
That's what I'm talking
But I
about.
have that one, and then I still have a final.
Because when you have differences
It
like
has
that,
like a ton of stuff I have to watch and read on Academy.
what we
I
call
have like nine
as what why
nine papers to turn in for my extra class just to get it like a B or C.
Wait, what's your major? What'd you get for next semester for bio?
For bio, I ran out of time and I got
So,
Wait, when do you have classes?
It's like at 8 in the morning.
Me too.
You did? It's like Monday, Wednesday, Friday?
Yes.
Yes, and then what did you get for
I got the child chemistry.
for lab?
Yeah.
I got those actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was looking at it and then
Yeah, dude, I wanted actually here. It's gonna I got waitlisted, dude.
I have it, but I forgot to enroll, like click enroll, and when I saw it, I got waitlisted.
No, I know. I still have her in my shopping cart just in case anybody decides. But no, for now, I got stuck with her. Oh, at least we have each other.
Yeah, I
Because I was
know.
gonna cry. You know, all my friends have actually. I was like, fuck you guys. These are horrible time. And then I checked the radar professor. But like, they were offered geology courses, so like, I can't really judge them based off what was on top of another center, you know?
I searched for Muhammad, or
Yeah, it's him. Yeah.
it's not because of
it's something like that.
Yeah.
And
if there wouldn't be
they said it was a wait.
Yeah.
But the course I have keep it on track, so no, I had to give out a lot of it.
That's why, but it wasn't for like the anatomy and physiology. It was for another. It was for a whole
It wasn't for that?
It wasn't for. It was for a whole another class he taught. So it's like, so I have no idea how many people it's like.
And then I searched for someone, and they said that he was really cool when it comes to that.
No, yeah, same.
And he was, and they were like, if you have a hard lecture professor, he's really good for, he helps you out there.
Yeah, that's why I feel like who I got. But maybe I should switch it to get him.
To Rosa?
Yeah.
You should search it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I heard that he was good.
Yeah, dude, I'm so sad. I still have her in my shopping
Alright,
cart.
well,
Maybe like
if there's any other
hoping I'll get
questions,
in.
you can reach out. Yes.
For the surveys, you only have 2 posters.
Cause the other one you go to your get and you do it.
Oh, okay.
There's a third one by the university, and the two I provided me.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you gotta take pictures of them, I need proof.
How do we submit them?
Okay, then you.
Oh, it says how to beat on your get, so if you just take
Yeah. And if you didn't do it, then,
Surveys on this.
I need to send an affidavit.
Go to get.
Just kidding. Alright, good luck. See
You can go to
you
him. The survey.
Thursday.
Are you even doing it?
I took a picture of it.
And I'll send you the assignment for there.
Alright, because you didn't read the
Oh, wait, did you turn in the assignment? Oh, no, you turned in Thursday assignment. Sorry to read it.
the Department of Development survey, most knowledge on
Yes.
Thursday, and then it's also it's great images that you paint it, and it's also email it to them. Yeah, and it's extra.
I saw too. I
It's best. Besides, the one for get is going to go.
Someone always shuts this one down.
Done the university survey? So how do you get that?
So you log up to your get and you literally say towards evaluations, like on the first week, it gives you like all these options, it says towards evaluations, and you're gonna click that.
Oh my god, I have a tank top right now, and this shit's like going up my
Then
stomach.
just take a picture and.
We gotta go, we you got released
Yeah.
6 months
Yeah,
ago.
I just have to remind myself, but yeah. No pressure. All right. Which is our finals, right? No, no. Bye, see you Thursday. So no, just, no, but I mean, providing opportunities for those who have not completed submitted all their assignments, turn it in eligible. But other than that, there's no class. Final day will be this Thursday. Did you have a question? Are you good? Oh, okay, so you found it. No, there's only one. It's the one that I showed you. I'll send it. What's that? I'll send it to everybody. I'll send you an email. I'll be more clear.
Wait, so what were the other, okay, the other question, but I don't actually.
Oh, that's, I'm only asking you to do one.
No.
What do you mean? Oh, how'd you do that?
Oh, I just asked, I typed down what you said.
No, but, oh, did you, from the last meeting? Where'd you get the data? Because I don't, where'd you get that?
Showed the data.
Okay, so from our last meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, so you actually took note of that.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's cool. I mean, if you want to submit it, that's fine. I'm not gonna, it's because of the time compression, or like we didn't have much time. That's why I'm only asking students here, to do one. Because I don't think we had enough time to go. But if you want to submit all of them, kudos, and I'll maybe provide you extra credit. That's all.
Yeah, because you showed us the data for that one, right?
Yeah, I showed you for this one, but I did not, I still have it in the slides for the other ones. But I'm only asking students to do this one, just one. But if you want to do the other ones, it's fine.
I think I answered it.
So you did it like this, right? You typed it up like this?
Not exactly, but similarly.
That's fine. No, it could be variation.